From self-righteous characters who just love to toot their own horn to unending drama that just doesn't seem to get resolved, here are all the reasons Blue Bloods fans and critics love to bash the show about. And they're not wrong, because if you looked at Donnie Wahlberg's character, Danny Reagan, you'd agree too.
You dropped your sample doll in the gutter, now where is she?
A doll was stolen from my van. I was gonna give it to my niece for first communion.
Oh, you mean the van that you had painted blue and changed the cracked window on?
Because guys, the guy is somehow always correct. And not correct like Jake Peralta, Detective Supreme, always right but clumsy enough to seem chill type correct, but like, I am your true savior type, which can get a little preachy, you know? Plus, the plot armor around him is ridiculous. The guy always comes out as the winner no matter what. Highest case closure rate? Check. Has a versatile set of skills that apply to every case? Check. Acts as the anti-hero but is also the epitome of the Big Brother / hardcore cop trope? Check. Is always right, even though he's literally, well, not mentally sound? Check. He's even survived the worst of his life incidents, including his home being torched and his wife's murder. Like, his character does need to get a break at some point, right? In fact, the whole show needs to take a break at some point, especially those family dinners. Now, don't get me wrong, they're a Blue Blood staple and bring us closer to the family every time they happen. But do they have to be so eventful all the time? Like, I don't remember my family dinners being so happening each and every time, even if we came together once or twice a week. The most that would happen is a sibling throwing a tantrum and being shut up at some point. Here, though, every dinner is a thing, and even for fans, that's a bit much. Cause how can you have an announcement or a message behind each dinner each time? Like, couldn't they have a scene or two where they're just silently eating with a pass the salt comment added in between? But no, they had to add an ethical dilemma to each dinner scene relating to that week's case, whether it's vigilantism, drugs, attacks, or whatever. Like, couldn't they give the family a break and let them breathe for once and not be so involved in their jobs even when they ate? It's just all too much sometimes, and the dinners aren't the online thing that applies to. The writing is a little overdone sometimes too. For one, can you believe that all the happening cases end up being assigned to a Reagan? Whether it's Jamie's beat cop coming across a scene or him calling in the detectives and Danny being the first to arrive, they are always in the middle of the action. No matter if it's a crime committed in Brooklyn, the Lower East Side, Upper East Side, or, well, you get my point, right? Plus, what about all those times when the Reagans are the only ones who can solve each other's problems? Like when Danny was investigating the threats on his dad's life, or against Aaron's. Or when Aaron kept routinely prosecuting all the cases that Danny was investigating. What? Like, the rest of the NYPD isn't good enough for this self-righteous family of Blue Bloods? And just when you think things are gonna get stable now that the Reagans have their act together, some characters come along and just ruin the entire vibe of the show. Like Erin Reagan, for example. She's been called the family's princess way too many times, and not the good kind.
Yeah. Sometimes I wish I could just go upstairs to my old room and crawl under the covers like I never left.
The rigid ice queen kind who loves to make her and the people around her life miserable every chance she gets. Like, she's literally been ranked the worst character on the show by Redditors, and that's a big deal. In fact, a lot of fans think she's the female Danny Reagan of the family who does the worst things but always ends up being saved by the bell. Or actually by the writing. Like that one time she forces Willis to testify against murder and ends up sending him to jail right next to the guy he's supposed to testify against. But hey, all was well in Blue Bloods land when they found out she was actually doing all this for the better of the guy. All hail the one true savior of justice, right? Well, no, because Erin is kind of really stuck up sometimes and can be a total buzzkill. She's literally the definition of my way or the highway in all ways, which takes me back to my point that this show can really be self-righteous at times. Then we have Eddie, whose character just seems to be getting worse every season.
Wait, you're gonna go against Salazar and the guy who killed his partner?
No, but we really don't have much choice.
Yeah, I didn't take this job to go against other cops.
She's another character the fans really don't appreciate, mostly because she comes off as really manipulative, pushing people around at all times and sticking her nose where it doesn't belong. In fact, people think that the writers just don't know what to do with her as the show grows, and that if being a beat cop is all she's meant for, she should just be sidelined and shown in those preachy fam dinners, instead of, forcing her between every situation that is usually above her pay grade. Oh, and while we're on the topic of characters who act above their pay grade, let's also talk about Nikki Reagan. Now, as cringe as the show can be, it has a theme, right? It's a cop family drama with all characters literally involved with every case NYPD has ever received. But then there's Nikki, who sticks out like a sore thumb. In the beginning, we all found her acceptable, right? Like the only child of the family's daughter who was growing up into a bright, opinionated young girl, until she turned into a division-causing, distraction-serving character who doesn't serve much purpose other than balancing out the story. In simple words, she's literally a filler. Although some fans have pointed out that she actually counterbalances some characters pretty well, but then again, that doesn't change the point that she doesn't really serve a lot of purpose, right? Just like Tom Selleck's broody face, which isn't the worst thing about the show, but how many times is the guy going to use it as a plot device, especially in those family dinners? It's like they always have to end with either a peachy moral lesson or a brooding Tom Selleck and a family member storming out of the room. Also, can we get a break from all the huffs he's let out in the show? Like, dude, you don't have to make your character traits so obvious that they turn you into a caricature. And I can say that for this entire show, too, because the drama, the drama, it's just too much. I'll use a word a fan used on Reddit calling the show a copaganda, which means that the show is nothing but a PR propaganda stunt for the police. And sometimes, especially now that its stories have lost the novelty they used to have in the past, that really seems true. Look, cop dramas aren't anything unique. From Castle to Brooklyn Nine-Nine, The Bodyguard, and the rest, these shows are a part of pop culture like any other. But the way Blue Bloods approaches the family's story just makes it really obvious sometimes. We get it, guys, this is a generational cop fam with struggles and lives of their own. But can they tone it down a little? From the patriarch of the family to the sons and daughters, the whole bunch is full of ethos that seems too out there sometimes. And if you combine all the things I've listed in today's videos, like the plot armor, preachiness, and character ungrowth, it just makes a once good show like Blue Bloods look like a drama that's run out of its vision.